Hello my peeps and welcome. As you gathered from the title and thumbnail, today I'm going to be coloring with my Instagram color palette, and I'm going to put that on the screen at some point so you can see where I actually was able to acquire such. But before we get into that, I would like to give shout outs, and I couldn't choose one person to shout out, so I decided to shout out everyone that commented last week, and I do that now. So shout out to Teddy T, Turtle Bun Buns, DC Sanders 92, and Yalia Golston for your comments on my Art of 2020 Part 1 video. Thank you so much. I like reading those comments, and if you like to be the comment of the week and get a shout out in the video, all you have to do is comment on any video. That could have been you. Also, I'm on Patreon, and up until March 1st, everything that I earn on Patreon will be going to charity, and I'm going to put a link in the description box so you can read about that, and also if you want to head over to Patreon. Your link's in the description. But anyway, my Instagram color palette. What's that looking like? Boom! There it is. I was actually pretty surprised by the colors that were selected for me, because whenever I think of my art style, I think of like really saturated colors, and sometimes I think the colors that I use are too saturated. So the fact that all those colors were gray was surprising. Well, they're not all like gray. Some of them are like, there's a desaturated bluish color that I do think is really nice. There's two like desaturated blue colors. Like not all those colors like true grays. They're like some cool grays and some warm grays, and there's one that's a little like a pastel peachy pink color. And there's also this really dark purple color. And usually when I'm drawing, I use like when I'm shading and stuff, I use a lot of layer style mode things like multiply and luminosity and stuff. But to kind of stay true to the colors that I got, I decided to not do any of that and just use the colors that I got, because when you use those layer modes, sometimes it like changes colors and stuff, which is why they're so useful. But if I were to do that with the colors that I got, then they would be much different than those colors, and I felt like that would be cheating a little bit, so I decided not to do that and just use the colors I got. And one thing that I was really concerned about was like my values, because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna make things like shadows and stuff and highlights and stuff stand out? And what I ended up doing was kind of using mid-tone colors for the base of her skin. She's like a Night Sister, by the way, which is like a Star Wars species thing. What are they, a species? The species is Dothamirian, but it's like a what do you call that? Like a group of witches, and they're called Night Sisters, and they have really like their skin is like really pale, like white to gray. And here's a Night Sister right here, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So that was what the character was, because I looked at this and realized that I hadn't drawn one of my OCs in a while, and I was like, this color palette is perfect for that. So she's a Night Sister. So like actually the colors that I got with that, like me deciding to draw a Dothamirian, made sense. So it was like, it was perfect. But anyway, like I used like a color that was like a mid-tone kinda, like a middle ground color. I can't explain it right now, but anyway. Like I used that for the base of her skin, and then I used the darkest colors for shadows, and then the lightest colors for highlights. So I don't have any like actual whites in this picture, which I think I learned that from Sarah Tepe. She did I can't remember what video she mentioned it, but like not using actual white to highlight with, and I remembered that while I was drawing this, and I was like, oh, it's perfect time to use that tip, because I can't use white in this one, because sometimes I use just like straight white for highlights, especially in the eyes, but I didn't have that, so I didn't. And to kind of play around with like bringing some life to the face, I couldn't use like a pink or red or anything for blush, but I had this dark purple color And I ended up using that as blush. I still like change the opacity and stuff of colors, but like if you were like if these are like watercolors or something, I could change the opacity of the watercolor by adding water. So I figured that would be okay to do, and I did do that. So I used that purple color as blush and just like lowered the opacity so it wouldn't be so harsh, so to speak. And I also used that as a color for her lips and stuff, and also her dress. And yeah, it was actually pretty fun, and who knows, maybe I could do this every year. Maybe it could be like, because like every year I do like the Art of 2020, maybe I can also do the Instagram color palette of whatever that year is. Not Art of 2020, I don't do that every year, obviously, because 2020 comes and goes, but like, you know what I mean. Usually whenever I'm shading, I use a brush that's kind of like a dense watercolor brush. In fact, it's actually based off of the Clip Studio dense watercolor brush. But this time I decided to be fancy and use the marker brush tool, which I don't think I've ever used before. I might have like tested it once, but I've never like actually used it in a drawing, so I figured, why not? I really like how the brush works. I really like the fact that you can get like some really, what do you call it? I can't really speak today, but it's like a really harsh shadow or a harsh highlight. I think that's what I'm trying to say. So I really like that about it, but because I am so used to blending things out, I did end up blending things out, and I think I might have blended things out a little too much towards the end, which is something I do sometimes. Like it's just right somewhere in the middle, and then at some point I just take things too far. I think that happened, especially like when I started using some of the values that I had created. Towards the end, I was like, oh, these shadows are a little too harsh. So then I added like some more gray, and it kind of destroyed my hard work. But I still like how it turned out. I just need to pay more attention, I guess, next time, and not like if I'm gonna do harsh shadows with hard edges, then I'm gonna do it. I don't blend it out at the end. But anyway, another thing that was a little bit of a challenge is the fact that my darkest color was pretty much the purple, even though it's like I also had like a dark gray. When I tried to shade with that on top of the purple, it was like too light, so oh no. I kind of just worked with it anyway and still used the dark gray in the shadow areas of her dress. You know, gotta do what you gotta do, especially in these challenges. And I think it turned out okay. And yeah, my favorite parts about this drawing is probably, let me think. I want to say the highlights and the shadow. Like, I do like the highlights and the shadows, so I just like the drawing. Like I said, it was really fun to do, and I highly recommend doing this. Very fun, and it's just, first of all, it's just nice to, like, interesting to see what colors you use a lot on Instagram. It's an interesting thing, you know, to see what you're using. And the fact that I got all grays, like I mentioned, was really surprising. So this is how the drawing turned out. I really like it, and like I said, I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope you like it as well. And maybe you can do a drawing with your Instagram color palette. Highly recommend. Very fun. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Shout out to my patrons, Turtle Bun Buns, Ariana, and my newest patron. Oh my goodness, someone else has jumped on the bandwagon. Chelsea, thank you so much for becoming a patron. I really appreciate you and everything that you do. Oh my goodness. If you would like to support me, but Patreon's not your thing, you can also head over to Ko-fi, or you can follow me on Instagram, or you can subscribe to my channel if you want to. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please enjoy the rest of your day, my peeps.